Now, guitar tuning can be actually a little bit tricky if you only use a guitar tuner, because not only are you then not using your ears to listen out for tuning problems, but actually some guitar tuners can be ultra sensitive and actually give you false readings depending on how you tune the thing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune this guitar, my Strat, up to the tuner that is built into Logic, and you can see that as a display at the top right of your screen, so you can see essentially what's happening. So I'm going to tune the bottom E string first. So we're quite flat there. But the 12th fret harmonic is giving me a different reading there. Which one do you choose? Well, at the moment, for my money, I would choose the harmonic, because it gives you a pure note rather than something with other harmonics and other partials built in. So if I'm going to tune the harmonic now, you'll also notice with harmonics the tuner is more stable because it's listening to a pure tone where the harmonics don't change over time like this would. See, that can't really decide what it's doing, whereas this is a much better option. So I'm going to tune the other strings with that method to harmonics. Notice also that every time I touch the guitar, I'm actually changing the tuning. So when you tune the guitar, if you adjust the tuner, you have to let it settle and wait for the tuner to say, yeah, that's okay. If you have to tune down past the point that it's in tune, and then bring the tension back up so that the string firmly grips the tuning head. Otherwise you might have a little bit of play in there, and the first time you bend a note you put the guitar out of tune. So here's the third string, the G. And then the B. And there's the final E. Now, on this tuner, the one that's built into Logic, it says 1 cent either way. The yellow in the middle says it's in tune, but the red either side is 1 cent away. Now, there are 100 cents in a half step, so it's very, very sensitive. So don't lose sleep over it flickering between 1 and -1, for example. So what I'm going to do, because this guitar has a tremolo system built in and therefore is spring loaded, I'm just going to go through it again, and you might find that there's a slight difference with this E now. Ever so slight. Okay, that'll do for now. Now comes the ears part, where you think, okay, the guitar is now in tune. I'm going to play all the open shapes of the caged system. C, A, G, E, and D. Okay. What you're trying to do with this is to get everything to sound okay. You'll never get anything sounding pure and then the other chords sounding pure. That doesn't happen because of this equal temperament that I was talking about earlier, where all the notes in the circle of fifths are actually adjusted ever so slightly so that you can play something in any key. So in the 17th century, a harpsichordist would have been playing, maybe had the harpsichord tuned to F major. But if you played F sharp major, it would sound dreadful because all of the notes were tuned to sound good in one key only. And then came equal temperament, where J.S. Bach wrote the Well-Tempered Clavier, which is a collection of 24 pieces, which is the 12 majors and the 12 minors, to demonstrate that this new system actually worked quite well, and that's the system we're still using now. So I'm going to play those chords again, and I'm going to listen out for the strings that I think are a little bit out. So for my money at the moment, the G, although the tuner says it's okay, I think it's a bit flat, and you can hear it. If I just literally notch it up ever so slightly, that's giving me a slightly brighter interval. Actually, I've gone a bit too far. What you can do as a guitarist is you can just bend the string and that'll take it down a bit. Now, that's made that D shape out now. And then the E has made that note go a bit skew-whiff now. So in fact, I've done the wrong thing by doing that. There we go. Now, this is of major concern if you're recording. If you're doing a session, you've got to make sure that the guitar is absolutely bang on, because when you play that record 100 times, you'll notice any slight problem with the tuning. One thing you can do, in addition to the shapes, is to test the strings. So that sounds pure now. It's the E here in the C chord, but it says it's in tune with this note here. Now, this brings me on to the interval of a major third and a minor third that this is. Now, this is a problem. If you try and tune this interval perfectly, like that, it's completely gone. Now, the method I've just used then is tuning to what's called a perfect fourth, which gives you a pure tone. But I've got to reach some sort of compromise here between the fifth string and the third string. Now, somebody posted on the Facebook forum, I can't get the third string in tune, the G, it's far too sharp. Because lots of people, when they tune up, and they tune the guitar by whatever method with the guitar tuner, will play this chord, and that note is actually very sharp. There is a practical reason why this may be happening. It could be to do with the height of the nut. It could be that there's a problem with the adjustment, because when you press the string down at first fret, actually the angle between the string entering the guitar and your finger pressing it down is greater than it would be here. You can hear that that's sharp. It also makes a difference how hard you play the string. So the tuning is varying there. It also makes a difference if you pull it laterally. So as a guitarist, you've got to make sure that you approach from the directly overhead the string rather than, because if you grab the guitar and play really hard, it's going to make it out of tune, whereas if you do this, it's That's much better. And then your bar chords. Although that B is still sharp. You can hear that. When I tune with harmonics here, oh yes, that one's gone out slightly. There we go. So this was in tune, pretty much. There we go. That says it's a G. And that says it's a B. Whereas this, they're not the same. Now there is an adjustment that you can make on the saddle pieces here, where you have to test what's going on at 12th fret, both the harmonic note and the fretted note. Now, to my mind, they sounded different, ever so slightly, but the tuner's saying it's fairly good. That's all right. That one needs a little bit of adjustment. So there's a lateral adjuster here, which allows you so the fretted note is actually slightly sharp. Now, because of where 12th fret is, you can't change the position of 12th fret. But what you can do is change the length of the string in order that 12th fret is now in the correct place. Although now it's saying it's okay and I haven't even touched it. Okay, so we're only 4 cents difference with this D here. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly grab a screwdriver, and then you can see that it will change the way that the harmonic and the fretted note interact. So the fretted note was sharp, which means that 12th fret is too far that way, too far up towards the bridge. So what I need to do is to make this string slightly longer by drawing this bridge piece in a bit, and usually it's a screwdriver or an Allen key, and you can just adjust it ever so slightly. Don't go too mad with it, do it in stages. Now this will change the tuning of the string, because the fact that there's a bit more tension on it now, so it'll read sharp by quite a long way. So there's my D. Now, there we go. They now read the same, give or take 1 cent. Don't lose sleep over that, it's fine. So that just needed a little bit of adjustment, and you need to do it if you change your strings. You need to just check the intonation, but if you change the gauge of the strings, or if you change the action or adjust the truss rod, which is basically how straight the neck is, and you know, set up for your gauge of strings, you'll need to just double check that. But the thing is, when you've done it once, that's pretty much it. You just tune up your guitar and then off you go, you play. So now that chord shape, which is 5th string open, 4th string and 3rd string 2nd fret, 1st string and 2nd string 5th fret. That's a good way of checking your octaves. if you get your octaves in tune, that's a good start. You'll never get rid of that major third thing. When people saying that string sounds out of tune, in fact, it's down to the fact that equal temperament has necessitated that sort of interval, which is not altogether musical. And instrumentalists, violinists, I'm a violinist, I would actually correct that slightly, because there's no frets on a violin. You can do that sort of thing. Trumpet player will correct that sort of thing by moving bits of tube on the trumpet while they're playing it, and then embouchure for other instruments. So it's important to be aware of these things. Now on guitar, obviously you can't do anything about it. On the piano, you can't do anything about it. And the reason is because you've got more than one note happening at once. So if you're playing a single line, yes, you can make corrections. But when you're on guitar, you just have to go with what's there. But setting it up in this way and doing all sorts of tuning and checking your octaves, checking your harmonics, should give you a very good sort of overall result. And there we go. All guitars tune a bit differently as well. My Telecaster will tune differently to this, and it'll behave differently because it's a different living material, different piece of wood, different strings, different setup, different everything. So with any guitar, you have to just go through these sort of steps and use your ears to check your octaves. That's not too bad actually in the grand scheme. So don't worry about small errors with the tuner, because they are going to happen. Don't aim for complete purity of the notes. It all depends on what happens when you actually get out on the field without a tuner and determine whether that chord is okay. The harmonic series of a string and the overtones, and the further you go up the fretboard, the more problems you're going to get, because the fact is you're shortening the string, which is actually gradually increasing the number of overtones you're going to hear. So the length of the string makes a big difference. That'll do for me.